The meeting of the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners to order. Would you please call the roll?
Fretham.
Here.
Mas Castillo.
Here.
McDonough.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Carter.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The agenda for January 14th is before us.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Without such, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Do a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do the roll call. Thank you.
Mas Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you for your patience. We have our minutes from January 7th before us. Motions in order?
I'd like to request a correction of my name spelling under the CAP appointment list in the minutes. There's no pork in Fretham, so change the ham to hem.
Thank you. No pork in Fretham. Duly noted. So a motion is in order with that correction.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right. Any additional? If not, all in favor? I'm sorry. Let's please call the roll.
Mas
you.
Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes, thank you. For those who may be wondering why I'm stumbling over that, it's a little different in committee meetings where we simply reply aye or yes. So we'll move on to administrative items. Commissioner Matis Castillo.
Yes, I would like to move item number 6. I'm sorry.
About 5.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry,
Item
I'm
5.
sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, we're gonna skip. Am I not on the right? Okay, sorry.
Got
Item
it?
number 5. I
Can
had
I
a
pull
different
5?
agenda printed.
Pulling 5.
Okay, we're gonna pull 5, sorry.
Do you want this one?
Thanks. I printed the agenda before it changed, so I apologize. Okay, item number 5 has been pulled. Number 6.
Pulled. Did you say for 5?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, yep. Item number 7. Item number 8. Item number 9,
Poll.
pull, okay. Item 10. Item 11. Item 12. I'd like to pull item 13. Item 14. Item 15.
Pull.
Okay,
15.
15 we're pulling. Item 16.
Pull.
16 we're pulling, all right. Item 17. Item 18 and item 19.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and second on those items not pulled. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mas Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you. I believe that we have 4 items
Yes.
that were pulled.
5.
I got 5.
5.
5.
Thank you. All right, and we will start with item 5.
Yes, I would just like to request that we move to amend the title of the addition we made to support state compliance with, it says, federal child care provider requirements. And I'd like for it to say, support state compliance with requirements of Federal Child Care Block Grant Act of 2014, which is a bit more accurate.
All right. Let me ask Commissioner Reinhardt.
Is that in the state
Legislative?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I see nods around the table.
I'll second that. Well,
Thank
first
you.
of all, we have to have a motion.
So
Yes.
can we have a
Yes.
motion, please? Thank you.
Yes,
We have-
right.
Yeah.
So can we have a motion for the item, please?
Motion for the whole item.
Move the item.
All right, thank you. And then we'll
I'll
get a second, and then we'll
you
look at the
s- Then you
correction.
revise it.
we'll look at the.
Then I'd like to
All right.
move to amend the title. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. So there is an emotion, there is a motion and a second. And we need to then recognize the amendment and the second to the amendment. We'll vote on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Roll call.
I'm sorry. Thank you for the roll call.
Modis Castillo?
Yes.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Fretham?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye. Now, we have an amendment to the motion, and we have the motion. Are there any questions or discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
No, roll call again.
I'm sorry, I am just really not there with this
okay.
roll call thing. We'll get there. Thank you.
We'll get there.
Please call the roll.
Modis Castillo?
Yes.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Fretham?
Aye.
Carter?
Yes. And so we have moved item 5 forward.
Yeah.
We're moving on to the second pulled item, which I believe was
Workforce Solutions.
item number 9. And I'd like to note that this is a letter of support for a J.P. Morgan Chase Advancing Cities grant. As I described briefly, I'd like to ask our Workforce Solutions Director, Ling Becker, to come forward to share information about this important collaborative grant that we've been working on with the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Council. And we're also delighted to have Council Member Chris Tolbert here with us from the City of St. Paul. Chris has been deeply engaged in this work, and we're so thankful that you're here, along with our Workforce Solutions Director, to share information about this particular opportunity and our collaborative work together. And I'll turn this over now, then.
Good morning, Madam Chair and
I'll make a
Commissioners.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to move this item
Okay, thank you.
forward. Without further discussion, all in favor, please say.
No, we just. Now we
Now this
listen.
is discussion.
I'm sorry.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Okay, we will get there. Thank you very much. This is our discussion.
It is. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit more about this grant, and also to have the opportunity to have Councilmember Tolbert here to share about our ongoing partnership with the City of St. Paul around workforce efforts. I want to first start by thanking Councilmember Tolbert for his ongoing leadership on our Ramsey County Workforce Innovation Board and for being here with me today. So the Advancing Cities Grant is a tremendous opportunity for the Twin Cities metropolitan area region. It is a $5 million grant opportunity, and our application is being led by the Center of Economic Inclusion as the lead applicant in partnership with coordinating support from the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Council. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your ongoing leadership as chair of that regional board. This grant is done in partnership in addition between the two core cities, City of Minneapolis, City of St. Paul, and then Hennepin and Ramsey County. The grant is an ability for us to leverage existing work that has been led both by the two core cities and the counties. We had recently received a Department of Economic Development and Employment grant for $450,000 very similarly around this work, and so this just actually leverages this work in a different way. And so, as you are all aware, we have significant workforce shortages that limit and will continue to limit our economic growth in our local economy. This grant focuses specifically on technology careers because there is tremendous growth in this sector, and we all know that tech jobs actually exist in every single industry. So in itself, it's not its own industry. It actually supports our healthcare industry, our construction industry, our public sector industry. All our other industries are supported by the tech industry. We recognize that we have many residents who have traditionally not had access to opportunities in tech training or in tech careers. In striving for our goals of opportunity and prosperity, we aim to build workforce programs not only for our residents to obtain jobs, but we are actually looking for careers that are high wage and forward thinking in terms of their opportunities for growth. We see that people who are graduating out of the MSP Tech Hire program currently receive about a $9.42 an hour wage increase upon completion of the training program, and that is very, very significant for our residents. So since 2015, the program that's been led by the core cities has graduated over 1,600 students. It's also guided 1,300 of them to full-time positions within 500 employers in our region, and we've awarded 177 scholarships for job seekers. So this grant has three goals: to increase inclusion for people of color, Indigenous people, and IT sector jobs, to increase income for people of color and Indigenous in our community, and to meet IT employer needs in our community. So this grant actually magnifies the work that currently has been happening in our core cities, and it actually helps us take a look at where we have gaps and to get innovative funding to sort of fill in those gaps. And a few of those areas I'll highlight include enhanced digital literacy and readiness assessments. That is something that will really help our clients that are on our programs, as well as just residents in general, to better understand their whether or not they would be successful in tech careers and they have interest. In addition, this grant has a lot of scholarship dollars within the budget to accelerate training opportunities, particularly in the area of IT core skills, which is at the front end of a lot of the other accelerated training that sometimes you'll hear about around programming and software development. They won't be able to do any of that until we get some of those IT core skills made available to our residents. And then lastly, this is the most innovative aspect of the grant, is piloting innovative models around financial capability training and coaching around what is called an income sharing agreement. These ISAs are asset building tools. You can think of them basically like a student loan in a lot of ways. The contractual obligations, but payments and protections kind of are set up differently. And instead of promising to pay back the principal loan amount plus interest after a person finishes the program, they actually pay back a set percentage of their monthly income. And so the plan is that for a lot of our folks, they can't take a break from life in order to take part in training. So by being able to access some of these ISA accounts that have been done successfully in other cities, in other areas in the country, they're able to basically meet their other household expenses while they are going through their training, and once they receive those jobs, they're able to pay back a percentage each month on that training. So that kind of sums up a little bit of the grant, and since we are here, I'm happy to answer questions about the grant, but I also want to highlight a couple of specific areas of partnership that we're doing with the City of St. Paul as well. Under Councilmember Tolbert's leadership, we had a great conversation around leveraging our partnership with libraries, as you guys all have been working a lot on Residents First initiatives and accessible service delivery. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be piloting a new program where our MFIP young adult participants who live near the Arlington Hills Library will now be managed by a set of case managers that will be dedicated to folks who live within that proximity, and they will be able to receive their services at Arlington Hills Library. So I want to thank Councilmember Tolbert for helping us get that connection with the library and making that happen. In addition, one of the first things when I came on board, Councilmember Tolbert talked to me about the EMS Academy and the wonderful opportunity it's been for City of St. Paul residents to be able to get into medical careers. And so through aligning our WIOA dollars, we've been able to increase an additional session of EMS, the EMS Academy, and that's going to be starting here in a couple weeks. We have 20 slots, and we actually received almost 60 applicants for that opportunity. So that's a partnership between the city, the county, Century College, and obviously the St. Paul Fire Department. And when folks are done with that program, they will have an EMS certification, and pretty much everyone who's been graduating out of that degree has been getting a job immediately, even before they're graduated. And so what the county can provide is we've aligned some of that funding, but also a lot of the folks do have other needs, and so we're able to provide some additional wraparound support that hasn't been a part of the program until the county got a little more involved. So I'd like to offer, I'll give a chance for Councilmember Tolbert to say a few words, or if you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much. We'll pause for questions if you have any for Ling at this point. Otherwise, we'll move on to Councilmember Tolbert. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, Thank you for having me here. It's always great to appear before this board. Usually it's about a hockey game and not about our partnership. I should remind you the game is on February 23rd this year, Sunday, February 23rd. As we raise money for SPIP, I'll put that in there. I know both the county and the city folks have been working hard to plan that. And it's at TRIA this year, so it should be pretty exciting.
All right.
And
but-
Councilmember, you may want to let the audience know what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Since it is a charitable event.
Annually, the city and the county plays in a charity hockey game that raises money for St. Paul and Ramsey County Domestic Abuse Intervention Project, SPIP. And last year we raised about $25,000. And we got to play hockey while doing it, so it was really fun. The city prevailed last year, and so you got to wear our pins for a day. And I hope I'll be here again in a couple months, putting a pin on you again. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out on the ice. But it's a great event, and it's for a great cause. Because as we both know, SPIP is one of the best organizations that we have, and we're lucky to have them here in the city. But on this note, I do want to echo what Director Becker said. We have come a long way in our partnership, and I think that's what part of the purpose of this is, to highlight the partnership that Ramsey County and the city has had in the workforce area. And it's very exciting, both on the Workforce Investment Board, in our partnership on the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Board as well, and then some of the stuff that we're doing together. I'm excited about the MSP tech hire. One of the things that always stands out to me is we talk a lot about living wage jobs, getting people into living wage jobs. And the tech industry is probably the area where you're not just going into living wage, you're going into the middle class or above the middle class in terms of what you can come out with after an accreditation. It's an amazing place, and it's one of the focuses of the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Board, as well as the WIB, and getting people there. So it's part of our jobs program at the City of St. Paul. We've also been partnering through our Full Stack initiative. That's where great MSP Tech Hire kind of came out of at the City of St. Paul, as well as our Right Track. And that partnership with the county is really helpful. And it's great because we're all on the same team. We all want these outcomes. And sometimes we've had barriers in the past, and I think they've been broken down, and we realized we're just trying to move forward for the people of our community. One of the things that Director Becker talked about was the co-location, and that's something that I'm very excited about. The Director Becker brought some of the frontline staff of the Workforce Solutions into our Workforce Investment Board meeting, and we had the opportunity to go around and just have one-on-one conversations, and it's something that we don't always do, and it was really helpful. And based on some of the conversations that board members had, we asked some of the frontline workers, what is the biggest impediments to some of the folks that you serve? And they said transportation and parking downtown St. Paul. And we said, well, that should not be an impediment. We don't want people who are already on public assistance trying to get by, having to pay parking things and like that. We have libraries in almost every single neighborhood. We have rec centers in almost every single neighborhood where people are. And so we're trying this out, and hopefully it works. I think it will. If it doesn't, we can revisit the idea. But we brought our library together with Workforce Solutions, and we're going to have staff there, and that's just going to help someone. I think about a single mother who is on public assistance, maybe on MFIP benefits, and she has a couple kids at home with her during the day. Dragging those kids down to a building downtown St. Paul is not the easiest thing to do. And this is, kind of part of updating how we serve the residents in St. Paul and in Ramsey County. And I'm really excited about that. And that's kind of, I think, overall what we've been doing with Commissioner Carter on the Workforce Board. And I know Commissioner McDonough is going to be joining us. But we've been updating how Workforce Solutions is from an older model to how citizens interact now, and that's kind of the exciting thing. And this partnership is key, and I look forward to continuing it and serving the residents of St. Paul.
Thank you very much. That's very exciting. I'm looking around, and I do see that a couple of the members of our boards have a question of our board. Commissioner Reinhardt?
Actually, I don't have a question. I just am really pleased to see how we're putting our words into action.
Yeah.
And each step that we take is going to make a difference as far as the goals of the county, of the city, and of our community. And so I'm just thrilled to have this before us.
Thank you very much. It is exciting, and to have you here before us with that testimony is doubly exciting. We started out talking about the J.P. Morgan Chase grant. It is an excellent example of the kind of collaboration that our city and our county are engaged in, and with the region. So thank you for being here to expound on that, and also the other opportunities that we have together as a city and county to work toward greater workforce success. Other questions?
Good work.
Thank you. And we have now this motion before us. We've had our discussion. Please call the roll.
Modis Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. And now we'll move on to item number 13, supporting initial refugee resettlement
Yes.
in Ramsey County.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to
Commissioner
move supporting initial refugee resettlement in Ramsey County.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. And Commissioner Modis Castillo.
Yes, I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to have a discussion to highlight the great work that we have been doing already to serve refugees, so we can demonstrate that. And with that, I'd like to call Elizabeth Tolzman up before us.
And I'd like to mention that Elizabeth will be bringing members of the community up with her. We've been doing a lot of work to ensure that we recognize that immigrants and foreign-born residents are an important part of Ramsey County, to lift up refugee resettlement, as we're talking about today, and refugee support within all of our work. And Elizabeth Tolzman has been very much a part of that. I'd like to turn this over to you to introduce our guest and share the information about the work we're doing.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I do have with me Michaela Schuneman. She's the Director of Refugee Services of International Institute of Minnesota, and she's here on behalf of 5 resettlement agencies, including Arrive Ministries, Catholic Charities of Southern Minnesota, Lutheran Social Services, and Minnesota Council of Churches. And also I have with me Assistant City Attorney from the City of St. Paul, Edmundo Lijo, and also from the Mayor's Office. And he's also here to show his support because the St. Paul City Council actually passed a resolution back in October of last year in response to the President's executive order in favor of accepting refugees. So I appreciate their partnership and support here. Just want to provide the board with some background context on this board action. On September 26, 2019, the President issued an executive order requiring all state and local government entities to submit written consent to the Department of State of whether they want to opt in receiving new refugees within their geographic boundaries. It is inferred and assumed that if counties do not take action or vote on this, that they are making the inference that they are unwilling or unable to accommodate the initial resettlement of agencies. Just to provide you some further data, we are part of a refugee consortium meeting that meets quarterly. And as part of this President's order, they are looking to cap refugee resettlement at 18,000 for fiscal year 2020. Just to give you some past figures, in 2019, that cap was at 30,000 refugees, and we reached that cap by third quarter of 2019. A year before that, in 2018, that cap was 45,000, and only half of that was actually resettled, just to give you some context and history on that data. The refugee settlement program has a long history in Minnesota. 95% of those resettled in Minnesota are actually reuniting with family. In fact, out of all of Minnesota's 87 counties, Ramsey County has the highest number of refugee arrivals for initial resettlement in the state. In fact, just from October of 2018 to September 2019, 71% of refugees resettled in Ramsey County. 71%. That's compared to 12% in Hennepin County, 8% in Anoka, and 2% in Dakota. Again, just some more figures and data for your contextual background. On top of that, Ramsey County also has the highest number of foreign-born residents. 16% of our population are foreign-born, or around 80,000 residents, and half are non-citizens, or 45,000. And when you look at the data of the City of St. Paul, those numbers are even greater. So this is important for us for a number of reasons. We want Ramsey County to be a welcoming community for refugees, not only as an initial place of resettlement, but also as a place to call home. Refugees often come here fleeing persecution, war, many terrible things are happening in their home country, and this is a way for them to reunite with their family members. They have strong social, cultural fabric, and they bring lots of assets to our economy as well. In fact, in Minnesota, refugees contribute over $227 million in state and local taxes annually, and nationally, they contribute $63 billion, that's B billion, in revenue over the past decade. I also believe this work aligns with our mission, and values. Our goals of well-being, opportunity, prosperity, and accountability, and also our internal and external core values of valuing people, equity, leadership, integrity, and community. This is important not only from our community, but staff such as myself. I am a refugee, and my family and I came here from a war-torn country in 1980, and I feel that we initially came here, we relied on public assistance for the first 5 years, but we've given 20-fold in the last 4 decades. I also want to call out, if the county board remembers, we did an immigration 101 training with you this past year, and for you to understand that it's not a black or white issue, it's not one or the other. Immigration and refugee resettlement is extremely complex. It's very family and individually based. And the county board also went through the intro cultural development training, and you guys learned a lot about othering. And I feel like this concept really just reinforces the concept of othering of other people. So with that said, I'd hand it over back to the board chair.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much to our guests for being here. Again, this is work that we cannot do alone. It is important that we honor and respect all who are among us, and our vision of a vibrant community where all are valued and thrive truly means all. Thank you for your collaboration and support. Commissioner Castillo.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank you as well for sharing the work that we're doing and have already done to support our immigrants and refugee communities, and to thank you for the opportunity to bring this forward and have a robust conversation. I feel like for me, this is a celebration of our good work and the work of our refugee communities. We have all benefited from having refugees in our districts. I would say in District 3, probably we have benefited the most with the largest population of refugees settling right in District 3. And so this is a great opportunity to recognize, too, that our refugees are resettling, and as soon as they get here, they are entering the workforce and filling our shortages. We heard about earlier about workforce shortages. They're also sharing our tax burden, which we all know we can use that as they're working and contributing members of our community. They become doctors and lawyers and our own county staff, as well as prominent elected officials. And so this is definitely a celebration of our refugee community. In the last few days, I have received numerous emails and letters and phone calls, some in support of refugee resettlement and some people very angry about refugee resettlement. And I've heard arguments about, well, we can't accept more because we first have to solve our homeless problem, or we should be prioritizing veterans. And my response has been, and will continue to be, it's a both and. This is a loaves and fishes sort of experiences that we can do both. And we have made great strides here at Ramsey County in addressing the issues of homelessness and serving our veterans. Myself as a veteran, I feel like someone who has served around the world to create peace, that this is part of that continue to serve, is to welcome our refugee community. So I reject the notion that refugees are a burden that we can't afford. And in fact, this is a celebration and an opportunity. I'll just make one other comment because it is eating at me, is that many of you know I'm a woman of faith. Sorry. And I had a group of people attack me for my faith and told me it would be unchristian to continue to accept refugees, which I find absurd. In fact, it's in Scripture that we do accept refugees, and so I wanted on the record to know that Jesus was a refugee. Mary and Joseph fled to Egypt, just as refugees are fleeing conflict, to come to a safe place looking for a harbor of safety. And so I am going to vote yes, proudly vote yes, for this motion to continue to accept refugees and reject any notion otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Other comments? Commissioner McGuire? Commissioner, thank you. So we'll go first then to Commissioner Reinhardt and then to Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you. I just want to say well said, Commissioner Montes Castillo. We have such a rich culture, and it is because it is multicultural here. When people are refugees or immigrants coming through the normal process that we have, I mean, this is not something that isn't known and that we have to work through. And I guess, you know, if people are really looking inward and realizing that unless you are Native American, indigenous to this country, somewhere along the line, your ancestors were welcomed. Sometimes not in a good way. but the fact of the matter is, we all came from someplace. And so I'm glad that this country welcomed my German and Irish ancestors here, because that's what makes us rich. And when you think about the Statue of Liberty and what is inscribed on there, it really is about being welcoming and becoming productive and wonderful members of the fabric of our community. So I am also very pleased and very proud to vote yes on this.
Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also am proud to support this this resolution and this board resolution. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here right now. And I just have a question. If you could just expand a little bit. I also believe that we as a county benefit so greatly from the multiculturalism that's here. Did I understand that we take 71% of the refugees in the state in our county, and other counties are really missing out on this opportunity? I'm just surprised by that, and if you could just shed a little bit of light on that. And,
Sure.
And I'm proud of the fact that we are a welcoming community, and I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I would
Thank
be very
you,
happy
Commissioner
to, and thank you for having me here today to answer questions and for addressing this topic today. So when resettlement agencies, so there are 4 resettlement agencies in the metro and 1 in Rochester, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. When we receive a case, we find out usually about 2 weeks to 1 month in advance of someone's arrival in the United States. When we receive their information, it also comes with information about their local ties, so relatives or community members, people that they've known in the past who are already in Minnesota. And so we start our process by contacting those people first, just to let them know that their family member will be arriving. And usually at that time, we have a conversation about housing to decide where someone will live. And usually people say either they can live with them or they want them to live nearby. And so it's sort of one of those things where if there's already an established community, then more people want to continue to join their family members or friends in the same community. We would try not, for example, we would not want to find housing for someone far away from their community because we know that would be difficult for them and inconvenient for them, and they would probably move anyway to be closer to their family. That's just how it goes. My mom moved up here to live closer to me, right? So that's usually what happens. That's the conversation starter. We try to find housing that's affordable, that's close to public transportation. We look at a lot of different factors, but mostly we're trying to keep communities near each other.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Are there other comments, questions? Again, I want to say thank you very much that you are here with us. We have the motion before us and a second on this item. If there are no further questions, I want to say thank you to all of you for your comments related to Ramsey County continuing to be a welcoming location for refugee resettlement. Your thoughts about how and why that is important to us. And with that, I would ask that you call the roll.
Montes Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes, and the motion passes. Thank you so very much for all your support, and thank you to board members. We move on then to item number 15.
Yes, I'd like to
Commissioner
move
Frothen.
item 15.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Frothen.
Thank you. I just wanted to say briefly, this is about appointments to the Ramsey County Library Board, and Commissioner McGuire and Commissioner Reinhardt, Commissioner Manis-Castillo, and I had the opportunity to interview candidates for this position, and what I've learned are very highly coveted positions involved in the library. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the candidates that applied for these positions, and I want to give a special thank you to John Hakes, who has been a member of the board for 2 terms, and he is one of the most dedicated supporters of our libraries, and we've benefited greatly from his experience. And I really wanted to thank him for that, and just note that we had an exceptionally strong pool of candidates this time around, and folks that brought some new perspectives and a wealth of other experiences that were very relevant, which made it a very challenging decision for all of us. So I want to thank John and express my appreciation for him and his work, and note that he still has a term of eligibility. So if there becomes a time when we really need someone with his experience, I hope he reapplies again.
Thank you. Thanks for recognizing all of the members, and especially, particularly, John. And it appears as though we're ready for the vote. All in favor? Please call the roll. Thank you.
Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. And we're moving on then to item number 16.
I'd like to move item 16.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you. Again, in this situation, we're talking about the appointment to the Rice Creek Watershed District. And in another situation, we had 2 very, very qualified candidates for this position, and I wanted to express my appreciation for Barbara Hockey, who has been serving in this position, in this role, for over 20 years, I believe. Extremely dedicated. I really appreciate her commitment to the entire watershed district and her depth of knowledge and passion for this area. It's been really valuable to the Rice Creek Watershed District. And again, in our commitment to continuing to bring in new people and new voices, we had an exceptionally qualified candidate in Marcy Wynant, who was also recommended by our cities. And in this case, tie goes to the city. And so I wanted to make sure we thanked Barbara. I had a really lovely conversation with her, and her passion and knowledge was so evident, which made it a very challenging choice again.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for noting that. Commissioner
I'm
McGuire.
just going to second. I appreciate that Commissioner Fretham called out both of these appointments. We are really fortunate in Ramsey County that we get such qualified people, and I think one of our goals is to really involve as many people as we can in our process. And so while we have people that are willing to serve on boards and then stay on boards, I think we are, making an effort to really give more opportunities to more people. And these are 2 cases where that's showing up here. And we are so grateful to the people that have served, and grateful for the people that are putting themselves out there again. So just thank you for calling these appointments out, and thanks to those who have served, and thanks to those who will serve.
Well said. And so with...
Wait, one more.
one more. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Well, I just wanted to comment that I also appreciate the fact that these were pulled, and the appreciation for both John and for Barbara.
Yes.
I think that it's interesting because when we have new people coming onto the board, we recognize what we haven't done sometimes in the past, because when people are applying, and we have a lot of boards and commissions, when people are applying, they probably think that we don't, as Board of Commissioners, that it's something that just happens because there are so many. And I think it points out the fact that we take every single appointment very seriously and look at the candidates and really make some very difficult decisions at times. And so I appreciate the fact that there are things that are being talked about now that are a very important part of what we do, but hasn't necessarily been called out before. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And once again, as we move this item forward with a vote, we recognize and thank all who have contributed and are to this work. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Matas Castillo.
Yes.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. And noting that we have a full agenda, a full day before us, I do want to call on the county manager for County Connections. Our updates will follow. I'll save my board chair comments for last.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I'm going to add one piece. I wanted to allow your words to speak to the refugee resettlement question, but just 2 points to follow up. I mean, we had a board workshop only 3 weeks ago or so. I don't remember the exact date, with Susan Brower, the state's demographer. And to build a community that continues to grow and thrive, we are reliant at this point upon foreign-born populations fueling the growth in Ramsey County. And I don't want that point to be missed. And I'll also end on the part of, so often the narrative becomes what's in it for us. And I think that's a dangerous narrative. However, I'll entertain it for a second. Our policy director, who directly supports me every day, as she mentioned, is a refugee to this country. Many of our employees are refugees to this country who serve this community and spend time telling their stories to build the community we want to build. So while it's more than what's in it for us, I'll take that bet and I'll share that comment as a part of my County Connections and a thank you to every employee who's a part of this organization. As we look toward February, the City of St. Paul and Ramsey County are going to have their annual Black History Month celebration. Every year, this has been a celebration to raise awareness of the African American experience, its contributions to Ramsey County, and a broader reflection and deeper understanding of the many complex issues as we seek to build a more welcoming and inclusive community. This year's theme, if you remember, last year's theme was about Black youth. We had a number of young people here to talk about that. This year's theme is the power of Black women, our victories, vision, and voice. One of my all-time favorite alliterative titles right there of 3 V's. There are 4 events being planned. I just wanted to highlight them for you now, and we'll make sure that this gets shared with all of you as a follow-up as well. Shaping policies that move us forward, the Crown Act, creating a respectful and open workplace for natural hair. The keynote will be done on that one by Representative Rena Moran on Friday, February 7th from 12 to 1 in the East Building. The second presentation is on mapping prejudice, racial housing covenants, its history and impact. Dr. Kristen Delegard will be our keynote that day on Friday, February 12th, 12 to 1 downstairs here in the Ramsey County Courthouse, St. Paul City Hall. Number 3, paving the way, a panel of city leaders. This involves Susan Earle, the city's budget manager, Sharon Kennedy Vickers, the director of the Office of Technology, Tony Newborn, the chief equity officer, Andrea Turner, the director of HR, and that panel will occur on Friday, February 21st from 12 to 1, also here in the courthouse. And then finally, celebrating the power of Black women, the keynote will be Sharon Sales Belton, the former mayor of Minneapolis, on Friday, February 28th, normally the last day in February, not this year, right? From 11:30 to 1 downstairs again here in the courthouse. And we have a number of our leaders that are going to be a part of these events as well, and I wanted to thank them for their participation and highlight the excitement as we move into February. More to come as we go.
I believe that you said one of the dates incorrectly. You
Perfect.
said February 12th, and I think it's the 14th. If it's a Friday, anyhow, it's the 14th. Oh, you said Friday. Okay, so that one happens to be on a Wednesday.
Okay.
I can only go with what I have.
February 12th.
Yes, February 12th. I think those are the dates. So February 7th, 12th, 21st, and 28th. And we'll get the information out to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Final update on the census is this is as a topic we continue to talk about. I want to continue to bring it in front of us. Again, thanks to Jolie Wood working with the Complete Count Committee, Commissioner Reinhardt as a co-chair of that work for Ramsey County. The U.S. Census Bureau has received, as of the last update I got, 2,688 census job applications in Ramsey County. That's 66% of our goal. That's both better than it's been and not good enough, which means we're 1,412 applications away. I was thinking we'd divide that number by 7 today and assign you each a few hundred to help us figure out.
It's good. We're on.
There's tabling coming up at various county facilities, Courthouse, Workforce Solutions, East Kellogg Building, Workforce Solutions in North St. Paul. We are doing what we can to bump those numbers up. I know a number of you have reached out to contacts as well. Those positions start at $22 an hour, flexible full-time and part-time positions. And the rate of pay has changed over time, so I pointed that out to say it has gone up from where it was when we were talking before. Final piece, agenda item 4, related to the census today on your administrative items, did relate to access to multi-unit dwellings, which has been of particular concern during the census. You can read more there on what we're doing and the actions taken, but today's actions that you established will allow us to work with the Complete Count Committee to do everything under our power as a county to ensure access to multi-tenant buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I could have called this out when we pulled item 5 on our agenda, which approved our Ramsey County State Legislative Platform. We did this in items 5 and 6, and I just want to give a shout out and a round of thanks to our government relations people, Claudia Brewington and Jennifer O'Rourke, for putting that together. And for us, we've had committee meetings and we now just finally approved our agenda. I also want to recognize that our new government relations person is here in our audience. Her name is Melissa Finnegan, and she's here, and we're just excited that she's joining us. We are still holding on to Claudia Brewington for a little bit longer, but Melissa will be joining us, and I know she's going to be making the rounds of talking to all of us, and so we're just grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, in light of speaking of government relations, I was fortunate to be a part of of being invited to the Civility Caucus of the legislature. So the House and Senate have been meeting, and they've been pulled together by the Office of Collaboration and Dispute Resolution with the Department of Administration. And they have a Civility Caucus where they invited former and current legislators. So I was invited in that capacity of being a former legislator to talk about how they can come together more. And it was just such a great convening. They've been meeting periodically, and now they're trying to figure out, where do we go from here? How do we come together, and how do we move forward together with our geographic and our partisan differences? And I will just say that there's a collection of ideas on the Civility Caucus that they're pursuing. So I'll keep you posted on that, but it was just a great meeting. We had about 20 people in the room, and they're very dedicated. Multi-party, multi-geographic balance, and very committed to making things work at the legislature. And we know that our issues all do better when we all work together. We want them to take a page out of county government work, because we know that as county governments and as our Association of Minnesota Counties, we can pave the way on showing them how this can be done. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the legislature for trying to do this work, and we'll support them however we can. Also, want to give a shout out to our Rotary, who had a Better Angels meeting. And if any of you ever get a chance to do a Better Angels meeting, that is on the same line of bringing together people who feel differently on things, mainly on a partisan basis, on really how people can come together. And that's an effort put on by our own Bill Doherty, who lives in Roseville, and that's a national actually effort now. So just wanted to mention that. And wanted to just say the League of Women Voters of the Roseville area is putting together their conversation with constituents that most of us are all invited to, and that's this Thursday night, where we come together and really talk about county issues, and they bring together city council, school board, and counties, and that's always a great meeting where we come together as levels of government in our area. So thank you for that, and I'll just say that Ramsey County Legislative, our legislative team is really coming together because we have our legislative delegation meeting on Friday, January 31st. So you'll hear more about that, but that's coming up in a couple weeks. Actually, it's coming up rather soon, that we'll be meeting with our legislators to talk about our legislative package. Thank you
very much. Commissioner Ortega? Yes, thank you.
I just wanted to thank Northeast Metro Climate Action, who had a discussion last night about farming and impacts on climate change. considering rolling back my meat consumption. So if you don't have a New Year's resolution yet, there's substantial impacts on climate change. And also wanted to make sure everyone knew that Northern Soda Company in Arden Hills is launching 2 new flavors for the Winter Carnival, and they're having a launch party tonight. So if you want to come up to beautiful Arden Hills, they have a really fun night of events planned. So excited to go out there tonight.
Will the flavors be announced tonight?
Yeah, there's King Boreas Ice and Volcanus Rex cream soda. So very exciting.
Sounds great. Madam Chair, really, even though the legislature is about a month from convening, we've had a number of meetings with legislators to talk about some of the issues within our state platform. And it was interesting. I was meeting with Senator Herr, and the next meeting was announced, and it was Commissioner McDonough. So 2 separate issues, just really trying to move forward what we think is important to Ramsey County and our constituents. So, but there are a lot of things that are happening in that respect. The conversation with constituents is absolutely amazing as far as the amount of information that we are able to glean from others and that we can provide to the people in the room. So it's a great event. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Just a couple quick updates. I did attend the Ramsey County League of Local Governments meeting this past Friday, and that's a new date and time. So that group will now be meeting the second Friday of every month, and they've changed the platform. Everyone is invited, not just the appointed rep, which is Commissioner McGuire, but everyone is invited, and they're doing a series of both conversation topics, but having speakers in. So next month, the state demographer will be in for breakfast and doing a presentation, and I know we've all heard from her, but she's fascinating, so I encourage you to go. And they also pick, so it's the second Friday morning from 7:30 till 9 a.m., and it's always going to be at CCTV in Roseville. So same place, same location, come anytime on those Fridays. It was a great conversation talking with all of our other elected officials from across the county about our legislative platforms. And so really some opportunity to work together across Ramsey County in that way as well. And then the Great River Rail riding into our future, which formerly known as high speed, and then it was known as the second train to Chicago. It is currently fully branded as the Great River Rail, to put in a second line to Chicago. The website comes out here any day now. I've had the opportunity to take a look at it. It's looking pretty good. Our bonding request to support that train is $10 million. I do know that MnDOT requested $10 million in the governor's budget, so hopefully we'll hear as he announced that this week that $10 million is supported in the governor's budget, which is really new. It hasn't happened in the past in that full amount. Wisconsin has stepped up to do their match and has proposals and funding available. So it's a good opportunity. Hopefully we can push this across and get the second train, because it really is about growing our economy and our ridership as well. And then one last thing, I just want to do a community shout out. Greening Frogtown, which was a local newspaper that covered the Frogtown area, run by Tony Schmitz and Patricia Omens, has officially retired. I was able to do a presentation and proclamation from Commissioner Carter and I on Saturday, thanking them for their work in their community organizing. And so the news there will get picked up now by the Monitor. The Como Monitor will also cover Frogtown, but we won't have a dedicated newspaper as we see small newspapers are dwindling and going away for economies of scale. But just want to do a thank you to Tony Schmitz for all of his work in the last several years.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And as a transition, I'll just pick up on that point. It's really important to acknowledge and thank those who have contributed, and also the work that we are doing moving forward. I was able to, along with Commissioner McDonough and Commissioner Matas-Castillo, join the county manager in thanking the senior management team this past week in an extended senior management team meeting / celebration and recognition of that work. I know that the invitation was sudden because of weather and holidays, and we were not all able to attend, but I want you to know that it was a good opportunity to connect to, network with, and thank those who have been doing this important work, our leaders, and to extend that thanks, of course, to all of the members of our Ramsey County organization. So much appreciation for the invitation to all of us, and we look forward to another year of celebration and looking forward next year. So I'll share just one more thing, and that is that I was able to participate with my new appointment, the Children's Cabinet Advisory Council established by the governor, which is one of two councils that will advise the Children's Cabinet comprised of departments at the state. The second is the State Advisory Council on Early Childhood Education. Both of those councils have been put together to advise that Children's Cabinet, and in particular, the Children's Cabinet Advisory will focus on the following priorities: to ensure that all children have a healthy beginning, to focus on child care and early education, children's mental health and well-being, child and youth housing stability, and educational opportunity across the state. Both of the councils have been put together to ensure community engagement, to uplift this work, to identify opportunities for eliminating barriers and collaborating and coordinating also across the state, and to promote equity. So it is a great opportunity to uplift those priorities of our governor and of our state. So we're moving on then to the balance of our day. I'll note that we have an executive session that will start in 10 minutes. So about 6 minutes after 10, we'll be convening upstairs. No, that would be downstairs. And then we're going to be meeting later also for our strategic planning session, scheduled to start around the 11:30, 12 o'clock hour. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the cabinet.